Well, hello everybody, and welcome to another Filbert Flies live stream. Nice to see you back, John, and hello Dazza, welcome to the channel. I hope you enjoy your first stream with us. So today we are flying this Lauda Air flight 221 from Bristol to Vienna. And it's a little bit of an odd setup, this, because it's a flight that's been scheduled several days over the past couple of months, but it's never actually flown as far as I can see. So we could be the first to actually fly this flight, even though it is a real world flight and theoretically could happen any day now. So yeah, something a little bit different. Let's get into the cockpit and start setting up. Hello Smooth Flying, nice to see you. So I haven't done anything really. I normally do a little bit of prep before we start, but all I've done is turn on the external power and the batteries to make sure that the aircraft was working, because there have been a few gremlins in terms of the battery with certain liveries, but so far so good. So let's get the IRS systems in alignment. Oh yeah, I'll talk you through FS2 Crew and Pushback Express as we go along, Dazza. We'll start out, talking of which, we'll start our pre-flight events with Flight Crew A320.
Let's start setting up, shall we?
And now we need to extinguish all of the white lights on the overhead panel. Feels a little bit like Groundhog Day doing this after my A320 tutorial. I did this many, many times before I got a take that I was happy with. So that's that done. We've got a bit of lighting set up. And I think a good step now would be to get the ATIS using Pilot to ATC.
Bristol information Charlie, 1220 Zulu, winds are 201 at 9 knots, visibility 2 miles, 400 scattered, 500 broken, temperature 10, dew point 9, current QNH is 1017. Arriving and departing runway 27. Bristol information.
Good, so that is the real world weather. You can see that if we press the B key in the sim, the pressure is slightly out, but hopefully the winds will be similar. And yeah, a lot of cloud about, as you heard. Scattered cloud at 400 feet, broken cloud at 500 feet. So yes, a bit of a miserable day here at Bristol, and only 10 degrees. But anyway, it's dark, so who cares? Smooth flying, that is an interesting point, because I've looked this up. So Ryanair now owns Lauda, right? And a lot of the Lauda Air flights now have Ryanair codes. So they're RYR or FR. Whereas this one has an OE code, and there are aircraft that are still flying with an OE code. So I don't quite understand what's going on with all that. But today we're going to be using the call sign Lauda Motion, which is certainly what these used to fly under, and I suspect that the ones with OE flight numbers still do. But, you know, I stand to be corrected on that. No, I don't use Rex Weather, Dazza. No, I haven't bitten the bullet with that yet. I think it solves some problems, I think it creates some new problems, so I'm sticking with the default live weather and hoping it gets better for now. Hello Pablo, nice to see you. Okay, so let's start setting up down here. We'll go to our init A page. We're going to be using a cost index of 20, and we're going to be cruising at flight level 370. And our flight number is OE221. If we go over to our flight plan page, we should have our standard instrument departure and runway already set up. Yes, we do. So we're going to be taking off from runway 27, following the BADIX 1 departure. Oh, sorry, the BADIM 1 X-ray departure, I should say, which involves us taking off, climbing straight ahead to 3,000 feet and making a right-hand turn to come right back on ourselves. And then heading northeast to the BADIM waypoint. So that's good. Let's have a look at our altitude constraints and see if they make any sense. So really, I think this one should be 3,000 and above. Let's have a... Oh, we can't look at our map yet because our IRSs aren't in alignment. We'll come back to that. Yeah, we'll come back to that a bit later on. Yes, that is that's my impression as well, Dazza. I went mad for all the add-ons when it started, and I still love all of the sceneries I've got, but there are a lot of things that I'm leaving well alone for the time being, until they work reliably. So on the init B page, we'll put in our 0 fuel weight and 0 fuel weight centre of gravity. We'll check our block fuel, which is 8.7 tonnes, and put that in here. And we'll go over to the performance page. The transition altitude is 6,000 feet, and I did calculate the V-speeds earlier on, and the flex temperature. So flex is 59. V1 is 130. VR is 130. And V2 is 132. And I'm just going to check the charts, see if there's any information about thrust reduction and acceleration altitudes. I don't imagine there will be, because on our SID we have altitude constraints, so we need to climb to 3,000 at least before accelerating, so we want to keep maximum climb on takeoff. So I think we will use 3,000 and 3,000 today to make sure that we are compliant with that initial altitude constraint. And yes, flaps 1. So that's good, that's that all set up. Let's get our clearance. Clearance delivery, Lauda Motion 221, ready to copy IFR clearance.
Lauda Motion 221, we don't have a flight plan on file for you.
Ah, it's because I forgot to push a button in Pilot to ATC, isn't it? Easily solved. I've been doing a little bit of flying with VATSIM lately, and that's a whole new world to me. Quite enjoyable, but quite stressful as well. So it's thinking about filing it. We've got a spinning wheel. Yes, that seems to have done it. Let's try getting our clearance again. Clearance delivery, Lauda Motion 221, ready to copy IFR clearance.
Lauda Motion 221 is cleared to Lima Oscar Whiskey Whiskey, climb via the BADI-ONS departure, with the BADIM transition, then as filed. Expect departure runway 27. Climb to flight level 140 via the departure. Expect higher clearances 8 minutes after departure. Squawk 4513.
Lauda Motion 221 is cleared to Lima Oscar Whiskey Whiskey, climb via the BADI-ONS departure, with the BADIM transition, then as filed. Climb to flight level 140 via the departure. Expect higher clearances 8 minutes after departure. Squawk 4513.
Lauda Motion 221 read back correct. QNH is 1017, contact tower on 133.85, when ready for pushback, enjoy your morning.
QNH is 1017, tower on 133.85, Lauda Motion 221.
Good, so we've been cleared to follow the departure that we expected, climbing to flight level 140. You'll have noticed that I actually set 6,000 feet in the altitude field because I don't trust this aircraft not to bust the altitude constraints. So after we make our right hand turn, as we turn left, we should then be able to climb higher. Let me just double check if there's anything different written in the actual instructions on the SID chart. Yeah, no, I think we need to stay at 6,000 feet until BADIM. Let's just try changing this. This is a very random number. Let's try changing it to 6,000 and see if that works. Looks okay. It's an absolute figure, so we want to be at 6,000, but this won't actually let you do that at the moment. It requires a plus or a minus. Sorry, Dazza, I missed your message. Yeah, I'm quite new to Pilot to ATC. I used to use Pro ATCX in Prepared and in FSX before it. And I knew where I was with that, and I think this is much more powerful, but also that means there's a lot more to remember. We'll turn our flight directors on, and we may as well get the APU started, I think. So master switch on. 3 seconds later, press the start button. The other thing I've added to my sim lately is the well, what do you call it? The AI traffic add-on from the FS Live Traffic Liveries Discord. It's the old version, which relies on IVAO models. Haven't really tried it out yet, but what we should see is some accurate aircraft represented on the apron and in the air. But it is no longer supported because they're working on a better product, so we'll see. Oh, let me just turn off traffic labels, I don't want them. That was from the very brief fiddle I had with it earlier on. Okay, so unsurprisingly for Microsoft Flight Simulator, this doesn't quite match the departure chart. We want to take off and turn right heading 088 and then make a left turn, so basically we want to fly a downwind leg. But you know what, we'll just let it do that, that's fine. Right, I'll fast forward the pre-flight events a little bit.
The security and safety checks are all done. Are we good to start boarding?
Yes, you can start boarding.
Okay.
So I'll tell you a little bit about Flight Crew A320. I did a first look video on it and I liked it then and I still like it now. I've been using FS2 Crew products for ages, like since FS 2004. And yeah, they're really good. They really add to the realism and the immersion. The first officer can't do quite as much in this as he could with the previous sims, so he can't operate quite as many switches or check as many figures. But nonetheless, it adds a lot of realism and I do recommend it. We'll have a look at Pushback Express later on. My honest opinion on it is that it's slightly overpriced for what it does at the moment. The developer's argument is that he's going to continue improving it for the next 10 years, and therefore if you consider it the cost split over the next 10 years, then it's not so bad. And he's got a point. I got a free press copy, so I very much like it, but I think, yeah, it depends. It depends how important accurate pushback is to you. Obviously, it can't push you back onto the taxi lines. It can't do that at the moment, so you have to either drive the pushback tug yourself or guess the distance, which is what I do. I sort of try and measure the distance on Google Maps and input it into the settings. And it rarely works exactly, but it gets you near enough, and it means you don't have to talk to the default ATC. So, yeah, so it's a good product, and I'm sure it'll get better. How are we doing with that APU? Oh, that's interesting, it hasn't switched over to the APU page, possibly because the door's open. So the APU is available. We'll turn on our APU bleed, and we can turn off our external power. And now we're all pretty much set up. We can run the before start checklist down to the line.
Before start checklist.
Cockpit prep.
Completed.
Completed. Gear pins and covers.
Removed.
Signs.
Did I turn the signs on? I don't think I did. And that's why we have checklists.
On and auto.
ADAs.
Nav.
Fuel quantity.
Set.
Takeoff data.
Set.
Baro ref.
1016 set.
1016 set. Down to the line.
Do I think the future updates will mean Copilot can do more? I hope so. I hope so. I'm not certain. It might, because this is also quite a lot cheaper than Flight Crew A320 I'm talking about here. It's quite a lot cheaper than his previous add-ons, and I think that's because it can do less. So it might get updated to bring more features once the SDK is improved, but equally he might bring out a more expensive version of the same product to match up with the ones he has for FSX and P3D. Flight Crew A320, yes. Sorry, not Flight Crew, Pushback Express, yes, I think that will improve. I sort of agree with Pablo. That's very much my ethos, but then I spend far more of my money on these things than I should. So it's now 0611 Zulu, so we're yes, we're running a little bit
Here's
late.
the load sheet for you.
Thanks.
No problem. Have a safe flight.
Put it this way, I don't think you'll be disappointed with either product. They're both good. But if money's tight and you only bought one of the two, I would definitely go for Flight Crew A320.
Provide more room for larger items in our overhead compartment. If you need assistance, contact the flight attendant. If you are unable to accommodate any items in the cabin,
Thank you for the sub, Fawaz. Nice to see you.
and we will check it for you.
Hello,
Also,
Infinite
use
Aviation.
safety
Welcome to the
instructions
stream.
in your seat pocket. If you're seated at an exit,
I'm no
also
expert on that sort of thing.
exit
Which liveries are you
exit.
trying to install? Is it from the latest version of the Mega Pack from the Flight Simulator forums or something else?
Hey guys, all packs are on board. Are we clear to close?
Yep.
Thanks. Let me know if you need anything.
Good, so we are pretty much ready to depart. 2 minutes remaining on the pre-flight events. Hello, Mossy. I'm doing good, thanks. Nice to see you. And hello, Edward Pierre, as well. And hi, Barry. It is the Mega Pack. All you should have to do with the Mega Pack is drag the liveries from the zip file, one by one, into the community folder, and they should work. That's what I've always done, and that's really the limit of my knowledge on this, to be honest. But I do know that some of the earlier liveries don't work so well with the latest A320NX mod, so make sure you go back to forums.flightsimulator.com and then go to airliners under aircraft, and then the top is the top topic, the Master A320 NEO livery list. If you download the Mega Pack from there, because there are different ones, that should be version, I don't know. It was 1.x, it might have been updated even further since then, but that I've always found to work. Some of the other ones I've used, not so much. So our doors are now closed. Let's turn the beacon on and contact the tower for pushback. Bristol Tower, Lauda Motion 221, ready for pushback and engine start.
Louder motion 221 pushback and engine start approved.
Pushback and engine start approved. Lauda motion 221.
Cool. Yes, I have seen the Sydney scenery. I haven't downloaded it because we don't have a decent airport. Well, we do. I guess it's one of the default handcrafted airports, but yeah, I'm holding off on that. I don't think I'd get quite enough use out of it to cough up the dosh at the moment. Right, check our thrust levers are idle, and they are. And we'll call for the before start checklist below the line.
Below the line.
Windows and doors.
Closed.
Closed. Beacon.
On.
Thrust levers.
Idle.
Parking brake.
On.
Before start checklist complete.
And let's get pushed back.
Cockpit to ground.
Go ahead, flight deck.
We are ready for pushback and engine start.
Roger. Release the parking brakes, please.
Parking brakes released.
Pushing back.
We don't seem to have a tug. That's interesting. This could be just something that's missing from the UK 2000 scenery.
You're cleared behind AE. Start your engines
mind.
at your discretion.
We'll just stay in the cockpit.
Starting engine 1.
Well, £11, that is pretty reasonable, isn't it? Yeah. Now we're going to come out of the cockpit to have a look at whether or not I guessed the distance vaguely right. I think I went for 85 metres, which is what I measured on Google Maps. But I think we should be turning by now, so I'll just move the ailerons. And that triggers the turn to start. So that is quite a good feature of Pushback Express. If you get it wrong, you've always got that backup option. Yeah, absolutely, Tazza. Yeah, it's a good livery. For all I said about the Megapack, this isn't in it. This is something I found somewhere else on the web. I think it's fsliveries.to, something like that. Yeah, not quite right. Okay, let's start engine 2.
Starting engine 2.
Pushback complete. Set parking brakes, please.
Parking brake set.
Roger. Okay, the tow bar is disconnected and the equipment is clear. We will see you on the left side with the pin.
What
Thanks,
tow bar?
and you
What
can
equipment?
disconnect and go to hand signals.
Thanks. Have a good flight. See you later.
There is an instruction card in your seat pocket that illustrates the safety equipment on board this aircraft. Regulations require compliance with this information as well as all crew instructions, the lighted information signs and...
So I'll just wait for our engine 2 to start up.
By inserting the metal tip into the buckle. Tighten by pulling on the belt. To release your seatbelt, lift the metal flap on the buckle. It is our policy...
I do really like this scenery.
...at all times while seated. Doors are clearly marked with exit signs and instructions...
You can see the shadow bug there, you get these phantom shadows about the place, but in spite of that, the night lighting's really quite nice.
Exit to you and note that the nearest exit may be behind you. In an emergency, lights will illuminate the aisle. The cabin is pressurized. If there is a loss of cabin...
Yeah, I like UK 2000. They've stood with us through thick and thin for many, many years doing UK scenery products, and yeah, I like to support them.
Oxygen will be flowing to the mask even though the bag may not inflate. Cover your nose and mouth with a mask.
Okay, engine 2 is also stable, so we will turn our engine mode selector back to normal, turn off our APU bleed, turn off our APU and turn on our taxi light. And I am going to start track IR because I can't look around with my head and I don't like it.
If the jacket fails to inflate, use the tube.
That's interesting.
The neck.
Bit of a bounce.
That will automatically illuminate in water. This is a non-smoking flight.
Right, let's call for the after start checklist.
After start checklist.
So this is Flight Crew A320 in action. He sets your flaps for you.
Thank you very much for your attention.
We do need anti-ice today. Going to turn the whole lot on, even though we should only really need to bother with the engine anti-ice in this sort of weather.
Set.
ECAM status.
Checked.
Pitch trim.
26% set.
Rudder trim.
0.
After start checklist complete.
I'm just going to adjust that pitch trim actually because it should be 28%. It's because of our weight and balance. I'm flying with very little payload today because someone suggested that might avoid the rolling bug on landing. Yes, this scenery is from UK 2000 scenery.co.uk. I think there's a link in the description. And yes, they're definitely going to bring Luton across. They're going to bring Inverness across. And there's, I think, one other they're doing. I hope they'll do Gatwick. They had an old version of Gatwick which they never updated, and that was really good. But yeah, there should be more airports in the pipeline.
Flight control check.
Full up. Full down. Neutral. Full left. Full right. Neutral.
Rudder.
Full left. Full right. Neutral.
And the first officer will now do his flight control check, and you can watch that down here, I think. Maybe not. Oh yes, yeah, they are moving. Right, let's get our taxi clearance. Lauda motion 221 ready to taxi.
Louder motion 221 taxi to runway 27 via taxiway Zulu, Alpha, hold short runway 27.
Zulu and Alpha.
Taxi to runway 27 via taxiway Zulu, Alpha, hold short runway 27 louder motion 221.
Okay, so it's a very, very short taxi, so we're going to do it slowly in the hope of getting our before start checklist done in time.
Clear left side.
Clear right side.
Brake check.
Pressure 0.
Before takeoff checklist.
Flight controls.
Checked.
Checked. Flight instruments.
Checked.
Checked. Briefing.
Confirmed.
Flat setting.
Config 1 plus F.
Config 1 plus F. V1, VR, V2, flex temp.
So you have to input these figures, which I did before starting in the FS2 Crew setup page.
V1 130, VR 130, V2 132,
V1 130, VR 130, V2 132, ATC.
Set.
ECAM memo.
Takeoff no blue.
Down to the line.
Not strictly true, we haven't yet set our auto brake to max. We haven't checked with the cabin crew that they're ready. Now we have, and we'll do our takeoff config test. There we are, so takeoff no blue now down here. They have an old version of Stansted Airport, Mossy, not one of their HD ones, but whatever the previous generation was called. I think it was, yeah, the UK 2000 Extreme Scenery. That's what they have. So, yeah, they haven't updated it for a long, long time, so I'm not too sure if they're just trying to focus on fewer products or what. Keep your fingers crossed, it may yet happen. So this first taxiway should be Bravo, and the second on the right should be Alpha, which is the one we want. Just a few drops of rain down for them from the looks of the windscreen. Yeah, Flight Crew A320 comes with a pretty good walkthrough. I don't know if you've yet watched my...
motion 221 advise when ready for departure.
I don't know if you've yet watched my tutorial video for setting up from cold and dark. I might do more things like that in the future, but to be quite honest with you, it drove me to distraction. I must have spent about 10 hours trying to get it right. So now, for now, I'm just going to do some flying and have a break. But yeah, the FS2 crew documentation's superb. Well, I think we're ready for departure, aren't we? So let's tell them. Tower Lauda motion 221, ready for departure, runway 27.
Lauda motion 221, winds are 19 at 9 knots, cleared for takeoff, runway 27.
Cleared for
Strobe
takeoff,
on, landing
runway
lights
27 Lauda motion 221.
Nose light to takeoff. See, this is something that the FS2 crew co-pilot could do in previous sims, but can't yet in this one. And it's really nice to have someone else setting your lights while you taxi.
Below the line.
Cabin crew, be seated for takeoff. Takeoff runway.
Confirmed.
Confirmed. Cabin crew.
Advised.
Engine mode selector.
Normal.
Packs.
On.
Before takeoff checklist complete.
The runway light, the runway turn-off lights, they're additional lights on the side, so if you need to vacate the runway, they sort of light the edges up, whereas the landing lights and the taxi light tend to light up the area ahead of you. Right, everyone ready? I would like to take this opportunity to ask you to please subscribe to the channel if you'd like to see more of this sort of thing. It makes a big difference, thank you.
Ready?
Ready.
Takeoff. Manflex, SRS, runway, auto thrust blue.
Check.
So, Manflex up here.
Thrust set. $100 knots.
Check.
V1, Rotate. Positive climb.
Gear up.
Gear up.
Here we are, on our way to Vienna, into the dark, cloudy sky.
Louder motion 221, contact Bristol radar director on 136.07. Have a good morning.
AP1.
Radar director on 136.07, louder
So
motion
we're passing our thrust
221.
reduction altitude. We'll move these thrust levers back to climb. And once speed builds, we will retract our
Radar
flaps.
director louder motion 221, climbing to flight level 140.
I'm not ignoring you, Turkish
Louder
Airlines
motion
roadblocks. Nice
221,
to
good
see
morning.
you. Just going to get
Radar
set up in
contact.
the climb before I reply. So this is our flat reduction speed, this flat retraction speed, this green dot.
Flap 0.
Speed checked. Flaps 0.
And actually, it looks like our flight plan map down here, which looked very odd before, is actually being flown better than I thought it would be. So we should stop accelerating and climb at 250 knots. This aircraft
Louder
always
motion
blows through it a
221,
little
slow
bit.
to 230 knots or less.
Wilco louder
Okay,
motion
230, we
221.
can do that.
Louder
a
motion
problem.
221, you are off course. Turn right heading 067 to return to course.
Heading 067, louder motion 221.
So we're not actually off course. That's not strictly true. We should have climbed ahead a little bit more, but that's not. It's just not how the SID has been programmed into this aircraft. So short of flying it with in heading mode, which wouldn't be very realistic, we're just joining our northeastern leg a bit early. Right, let's do the after takeoff climb checklist.
After takeoff, climb checklist.
Landing gear.
Up.
Flaps.
Retracted.
Packs.
On.
Down to the line.
And we will turn off our dome light now we're in the air safely. And we can also
Louder
turn
motion
off
221,
our
resume navigation.
resume navigation. Okay.
Louder motion
Yeah, so
221.
co-pilot's turned off our runway turn-off lights and our nose lights, so that's good, and we'll turn off the landing lights at 10,000 feet. Right, what was asked? Turkish Airlines roadblocks. Is this a mod that you can talk with the guys? Ah, right, so yes, I'm using... So there are two programs I'm using, which you're hearing at the moment. One is Flight Crew A320 from FS2 Crew, which is, I think, about £20 UK. And that gives you a virtual first officer who runs through checklists with you, helps you fly the plane, changes various switches in the cockpit. And the other one is Pilot to ATC, which is an air traffic control add-on. And there are links to both in the description. Right. So we're at 6,000 feet, which is the limit of our climb for this particular standard instrument departure. And the air traffic controller is absolutely right. We should have been below 230 knots, and I failed to read that on the on the departure chart. So that was a fair chastisement. Can't argue with her. Pretty murky, isn't it? Didn't hear about clouds at this altitude in the ATIS, but as we know, the Flight Simulator live weather is not perfect. So you will have noticed, those of you who are regulars, that I've turned back on the Fly Live overlay bar at the top, which I blamed for causing the stutters on
Lauda
landing.
Motion 221 contact Manchester Centre on 118.7.
But I don't think it was its
Enjoy
fault,
your
because we
morning.
had them even without it, so we're giving it
Centre
another
on
go.
118.77, take care. Lauda Motion 221.
So that's us finished with the standard instrument departure. And for some reason the aircraft's decided to climb.
Climbing to flight level 140.
Which it shouldn't have, because I didn't authorise it to climb.
Good morning.
But there you are, this
Radar
aircraft's still very buggy. Nothing we can do. And we were cleared to 140 anyway, so it was just slightly ahead of me. And we can put it back into managed speed mode, because the 230 knot speed restriction no longer applies. And now I've asked it to climb, it's decided it doesn't want to. Oh dear. Give me a decent airliner add-on, please. Okay, it is at least accelerating us up to 250 knots, so it'll start climbing after that, I imagine. And because we are past the transition altitude, we can set our barometric pressure to standard, ask the first officer to do the same.
Set standard.
Standard, cross-checked. Passing flight level 069. Now.
Check.
And we can run the after takeoff climb checklist below the line.
Below the line.
Baro ref.
Standard set.
Standard set. After takeoff checklist complete.
Not a bad takeoff, I feel. If the only things that go wrong are to do with bugs in the aircraft, I'm happy. So we're passing 10,000 feet, we can turn the landing lights off, and this is a good point also to turn the seatbelt sign off, but while we're in this cloud and it's a bit bumpy still, we'll leave well alone. I haven't turned the weather radar on because it's so bright in this sim that I can't see it generally. And did the first officer turn the transponder to TAR rate? No. I'm used to them doing that in previous sims, but it's alright, we can do it now. Yeah, I'm the same, Pablo. I put up with the little bugs in order to enjoy the scenery and the clouds and the weather and everything that this sim has to offer. If they bothered me that much, I'd go back to prepared and fly the FS Labs A320 instead. Looks like we're nearly out of this horrible weather. I notice it's giving you an ETA of 1338 Zulu on that bar.
Lauda Motion
Oh, look at that, look at
climb
that.
and maintain flight level 230.
That's
Climb
obviously
and
not
maintain
correct.
Flight level 230, Lauda Motion 221.
Because that's the time now. Yeah, absolutely, Deza. Absolutely. I'd have abandoned it long ago if it wasn't for that. But it just does feel like you're flying in the real world, and there's nothing else that offers that to this level. And there's no icing quite like MSFS icing. We'll see if that ETA updates. I mean, the blue bar at the top looks vaguely accurate at least. In the early days I got very excited about patches coming out to fix the little bugs, but I have to say after the last couple I'm dreading this new one being released tomorrow, because they tend to make more things worse and fewer things better at the moment. Yeah, I think Aerosoft did intend to bring their A320 over, and it's not as good as the FS Labs, but it's not bad. I would certainly buy it if it arrived first. Right, now we're in nice smooth air. I think we're okay to turn the seatbelt sign off. And we've got no more cloud, so will we no, we won't turn the anti-ice off. Makes me nervous turning off. We'll leave it on for a bit longer. Well, the CRJ I think is going to be Aerosoft's first launch, isn't it? I've never flown that, so again I'll probably buy it. Give it a go. Pretty much any decent airliner that comes out now I will snap up, I think. And it'll be fun because you know, I mostly fly A320s, 737s and some longer haul stuff in earlier sims, so it'll be nice to do some regional stuff as well. See some places I've never been to before.
Lauda Motion 221, contact London Control on 118.47. Have a good one.
Center on 118.47, Lauda Motion 221.
Yeah, it's still giving the current time as our ETA, isn't it?
Center Lauda Motion 221, climbing to flight level 230.
Lauda Motion 221, good morning. Radar contact. Lauda Motion 221, climb and maintain flight level 310.
Climb and maintain flight level 310, Lauda Motion 221.
Should we risk turning the anti-ice off? I mean, we're definitely not in icing conditions now. Let's give it a go, see what happens. Amazing, isn't it, how much difference coming out of the cloud makes? It's like it's daylight already. So now we're in the air. I'll tell you a little bit about our routing today. As you can see, we're flying east-southeast, and we're going to be flying just to the south of London, then over Kent, north of Tunbridge, south of Canterbury, coasting out near Dover, crossing the Channel, and hitting the Belgian coast just north of Dunkirk. We'll be making a right-hand turn to head a little bit more south, flying south of Brussels, crossing into Germany, passing by Koblenz and Wiesbaden, and continuing down east into Austria, turning more to the south, and we'll actually be flying over the Czech Republic briefly before hitting Austria. And we'll be starting our descent obviously to the north of Vienna, northwest of Vienna. And I think it's time to ask for a little something to drink from the cabin crew.
Hi, how can I help you?
Hi, could you bring us some water, please?
Okay, I'll bring the drinks up in a minute.
Hi guys, here are the drinks.
Thank you.
Hitting Austria, is that what I said? I meant, arriving into Austria. Isn't that beautiful? So if you look at our upper ecam here, you'll notice we've got a predictive wind shear off notification. And like I said earlier, I don't like the weather radar on this because it's too bright. But now we have no clouds, which makes it fairly redundant. We will turn it on and we'll turn the predictive wind shear warning on as well. Yeah, see, seeing quite a lot of clouds and not much of our route. Unless they've fixed that, have they? Because in the real aircraft you can turn the brightnesses of the route, the navigation display's route display down and the weather radar down separately with the inner and outer dials. Doesn't look like it. Oh, hang on. Yes, you can. Yes, you can. Well done, fly-by-wire. Another very useful feature. Awesome. So yeah, the upper ecam is where you'll generally get notifications and warnings pop up. The lower ecam displays various things automatically, or you can have a look at different systems down here. So we can have a look at our door page. Fortunately, our doors are all closed and our slides are all armed. A lot of these aren't implemented yet. Pressure and electrical aren't. Hydraulic isn't. We can have a look at our fuel and see that it's balanced, as well as our total quantity. And we can see our fuel used up here.
Lauda motion 221, climb and maintain flight level 370.
Climb and maintain flight level 370, Lauda motion 221.
What else works? Yes, APU we've seen our flight control page. Wheel page, this should show your brake temperatures, so if you have a particularly rapid deceleration with your brakes after landing, these will get pretty hot and you'll need to turn on the fans.
Please refer to the menu given to you on boarding.
Status page, everything normal, that's good. And if you click on all, it should cycle through them. I don't suppose that's implemented yet, no, not quite. Yeah, so our cruise page, which is the default at this stage of flight, tells you your cabin altitude, cabin vertical speed and your various temperatures, as well as giving you a summary of your engine conditions. What shame as in how long it's going to take them to bring the 737, do you mean, Barry, or is there some news I've missed? Just going to try fiddling with this fly live bar at the top and see what happens if I change the airport. We're obviously not diverting to Innsbruck, but I just wonder if it'll fix the ETA. No, it won't. It's still an alpha product, so we must forgive it some of its foibles. So in the past it's misread my altitude or vertical speed or where I am, but it's never done this before. This is a new one. Yes, I haven't done any flying in the snow either. Let's just try quitting it, the overlay, and coming back. Yes, that's about right. Warning successfully connected. Good, that's it's not something I need to be warned about, really. Good, well that all seems to be working. Pilot to ATC reckons we should be there in 1 hour and 28 minutes, so it's, yeah, they're giving pretty similar figures. Right, I'm just going to go and get myself some actual water. Let me know if I've missed anything from ATC when I get back. I'm back. All seems to be okay. So I tend to always fly in real world weather, even if it's not 100% accurate, because it just keeps life interesting. But yeah, I'm looking forward to a bit of real world snow to fly through. But not quite as much as I'm looking forward to real world winter being over and done with and spring coming. So you wouldn't know this because of all the cloud, but we're just at Dover now, so we'll be crossing over into the English Channel. Not into, but above the English Channel, hopefully. And I think we'll have a little bit of music while we're in the cruise.
Lauda Motion 221 contact Paris Center on 126.47. Have a good morning.
Center on 126.47 Lauda Motion 221. Center Lauda motion 221 at flight level 370. Lauda motion 221, good morning. Radar contact.
Yes, I was disappointed about the delay as well. Yeah, I'm getting there with it. I'm getting there. I still think that the answer to really smooth drone cam action is probably a separate Xbox controller or something like that, which is just not something I'm prepared to invest in. Yeah, it's relaxing, isn't it, David? Welcome to the stream, by the way. Yes, I like a bit of easy listening classical for flights like this. What were you doing in Frankfurt that required a weekly commute, if you don't mind me asking? I'm quite nosy on these streams, so you don't have to answer. Oh, cool. Doing what? What sort of thing? Fair enough, fair enough. Yeah, fair dues. Trying to decide if a weekly commute between Manchester and Frankfurt sounds glamorous or hard work. I imagine it was probably glamorous to start with and got a little bit tiring towards the end. Good, I'm glad you enjoyed it. It's 90% of life's battle, I think, getting a job that you enjoy, the amount of time you spend on it. Yeah, that must have been amazing. I was fortunate enough when I was about 13 or 14 to go and have a look at the flight deck of a BA 747 en route back from South Africa, from Johannesburg to Heathrow. And I very cheekily asked if I could come back for the landing, and they said I could. And that was probably one of the most exciting moments of my childhood. Yes, that would be awesome, Pablo. Do we know for sure that that hasn't been implemented? I haven't flown that far north, but it seems unlikely, I guess.
Lauda motion 221, contact Brussels Center on 125.0, have a good one. Center on 125.0, Lauda motion 221. Center Lauda motion 221 at flight level 370.
Lauda motion 221, good morning. Radar contact.
I find that the ILS isn't properly aligned at some airports, Luke. I wouldn't say most. The ones I've flown to have mostly been okay. Are you using the default nav data, or are you using the Navigraph beta data? Yeah, I haven't been to Madeira in this sim. I've flown there in the past. Tricky old approach, as I recall. Actually, I don't think that's... I think I did have a little look at it in the beta, and it was, yeah, it was pretty good. But I haven't done a flight there. I was considering doing that today, Bristol to Madeira instead of Bristol to Vienna, but I thought it could all go horribly wrong. So I chickened out and decided we'd do this. We haven't been to Vienna for a long while anyway. Yes, Vienna is Gaia Simulations Payware Airport. You can get it from Orbex direct. Possibly also the marketplace, I'm not sure. Yeah, well, I'll definitely do a flight to Madeira at some point. Oh, how annoying, Luke. Yeah, it's a shame. I'm sure that's something that will be fixed either by Asobo in a future update, or failing that by Navigraph. Yes, I'm not sure, David, either. Like everything for this sim, I found it improved some things and made a few others worse. I've got the latest version installed, and but I always use SimBrief and import my plans into the sim in the world map screen. So I guess it doesn't really matter that there are no airways because it'll have all the waypoints anyway. I'll try and put something a bit livelier on when we get closer, Mossy, but you know, it's a grey Monday afternoon. You're very welcome to doze off in front of my stream if you so wish. I'm just playing around with this new add-on for little nav map while I fly. which adds Google Maps and other various things to the program. But I've totally lost my map, the actual map. I've got the program open, can't work out where the map's gone. Which is not ideal. I wonder if it's because I popped it out last time and it's disappeared somewhere. Yeah, they're being a bit slow, David. They did say they were going to serve a meal, but obviously they haven't got to you yet. I hope you're right, Pablo. I hope you're right. I'm usually fairly positive, but I've got to be honest, I have my doubts. Ah, good, I've got my little nav map back for those of you who were concerned. Very good, yes. So I can see where I am over Google Maps. Yeah, make the most of it, David, when they do get there. Do I recommend to build the flight plan or MCDU? I always build it on SimBrief and then import it into the world map. The reason for that is, firstly, it's quicker. Secondly, I think it's more realistic because it's very rare that a real-world flight crew will enter their waypoints into the MCDU. They get downloaded automatically. So, yeah, you expect to be able to buy drinks, though, don't you, somehow? We're just southeast of Brussels at the moment, and we've got a Turkish Airlines flight 1232 very close behind us. I don't know if we'll be able to see it, but let's have a little look. I'm reading this from Little Nav Map, by the way. No, I can't see him. Be at 39,000 feet, so a little above us. No. Too far away to see, I expect. Yeah, I have Mossy. I did 15 hours towards my PPL in a Cessna 152. And then I stopped for various reasons, but mostly money. And because I gave up on the idea of becoming a commercial pilot. Which, with hindsight, was the right decision. Because it's, you know, not a secure profession anymore, very changeable. But I would still like to get my PPL one of these days. Once the pandemic's over, I might take a few more lessons and see how I feel about going back to it. almost see some scenery down there now. Yeah, definitely time for pizza and beer, Luke. Personally, I might go for a schnitzel. I like a good schnitzel. But yeah, each to your own, each to their own. Yeah, exactly, Mossy. Yeah, so my first priorities in January, after becoming a YouTube millionaire, as you promised me I will, are firstly to pay for your wedding, secondly to get my PPL, and thirdly to buy my own plane. Does the white descent arrow show? No, not usually. I've sometimes seen a descent arrow. It does pop up once in a blue moon, but it's rarely in the right place. It's something fly-by-wire are working on, I'm pretty sure. It would be quite cool to film and upload some real-world flights on this channel, though. That would be a good goal to have, I think. Thanks, Mossy. I will do that. Does mean revealing my face and my identity, though, which I'm not entirely comfortable with. I have to keep it hush-hush, but I'll be there, don't worry. That's true. Yeah, I hadn't thought of that, yeah. I'll wear a mask and pull a hat down very low, maybe some sunglasses.
Motion 221 contact Langen radar center on 118.75. Enjoy your morning.
Center on 118.75 Lauda motion 221. Center Lauda motion 221 at flight level 370.
Lauda motion 221 good morning. Radar contact.
I don't think so, Mossy. No, I don't think so. I don't have a webcam for a start. I use my iPad if I'm using Zoom or Skype or whatever, FaceTime. But yeah, I don't have one for my computer. I don't personally see the benefit to watching my face while I fly. I've got my stupid hat on with my track IR thing, I've got my headset with my microphone. It's all very distracting stuff. Should be concentrating on the aircraft only. Funnily enough, I was having an ahhing about it when I was starting this channel. And I watched a Twitch streamer saying that they really regretted having got a webcam and revealed their face, because once you start you can't stop, do you know what I mean? It's what people expect, whereas if you just do audio from day one then people know what they're getting. Yeah, do, David. Yeah, be interested to hear about your flying experience. I tell you what, Pablo, I'll do you a deal. Once I've made £1,000 out of this
Louder
channel
motion
through
221
donations or
contact
link down below,
Brussels Center on 125.0.
or advertising, I will reveal my face. How's
Center
that?
on 125.0 Lauda motion 221. Center Lauda motion 221 at flight level 370.
Louder motion 221. Good morning. Radar contact.
Yes, Edward, this is the Airbus A320, correct. Yeah, this is starting to feel like something other than a flying channel, Mossy. Hand reveal for £100, face reveal for £1,000, and we'll stop there. I've revealed my cats' faces. You can have another look at them if you like. It's a start, little look into my world. This is Mildred. This is Morris. They're my two cats. Oh, thank you very much for the subscription. I'm so sorry, I wouldn't even begin to know how to pronounce your name, but it's much appreciated. Yeah, they're lovely. Thank you very much, Luke. Yeah, Wiener Schnitzel and sauerkraut, lovely, lovely, that'll do me. And a nice pint of Pilsner to go with it, but don't worry, I can get that once I'm there. Yeah, I could put my photo on the dash. Have it dangling down from up here somewhere. Tie it to the nose light now. Switch. Yeah, one of my early subscribers, Cedric, was very keen to see my cats. So I said, well, I'll show them on the next Airliner stream. But then he never came back. Moved on to other games from the looks of his Twitch stream. It's a shame.
Louder motion 221 contact Frankfurt Center on 127.6. Have a good morning.
Center on 127.6 Lauda motion 221. Center Lauda motion 221 at flight level 370.
Louder motion 221. Good morning. Radar contact.
So we've got about an hour left to run to our touchdown now, and half an hour until we start our descent. I know, it's a bit sad. Oh, good for you, Daz. I hope you're pleased with both of them. I think you will be. Oh, he was a regular. He was almost as much of a regular as you, Moss. He was very loyal, and then just disappeared off the face of the earth. But people are fickle. People are fickle. Flight Simulator was the only thing for about 3 weeks, and now it's only the hardcore who remain. Personally, I can say with some confidence, having been simming for about 20 years, I probably won't grow tired of it anytime soon. Good, I'm pleased, Mossy. Don't try too hard to get a job. Have any of you tried the mod that allows you to bring little nav map into this menu up here and actually have it showing within the sim? It's something I want to have a play with at some point, but only if it works. I bet. So I'm having a look at Little Nav Map with the new Google Maps plugin. I'm going to try and show you some sights through the clouds. There's a lake on our 9 o'clock there or thereabouts called LOWW, and there's a nice looking campsite just on the north shore of it. We're obviously to the south of it. We are to the south of it. If we'll be able to make it out. Let's try this view instead where we can zoom in more easily. Oh, that was a big zoom. No, maybe not, a bit too misty. But this town that you can see is called Ochtendung, which is in northern Germany from the looks of it. I need to turn off some of the layers so I can see the map properly. I turn off the airspaces. See, I haven't taken the time to get to know Little Nav Map. It's got too many options. Yeah, it is, Pablo. I love travelling. I can't wait to get back to it. I've decided in spring I'm going to go back to having a more normal life, and you know, I'll be sensible, but I've been very, very cautious throughout this pandemic, and I'm only meeting people outdoors. I'm not going on public transport. I'm certainly not flying anywhere. And in March that has to change, March or April. So my plan is to go and see my cousin in Paris. She's recently moved over there. Go and see an old uni friend in Brussels, and maybe go and see an old colleague who lives in Provence. Do a little triangle, little tour. I will be cautious. I'm hopeful for a vaccine in spring, but even if there isn't, I think I need to have a bit more of a life than I have at the moment. Chinese or Indian? I would go for Indian, Mossy. Unless you've got a really good Chinese near you. We used to have an amazing Sichuanese takeaway nearby, and that was awesome, but they closed down. And now the options are a bit rubbish. I have to say though, escaping into this fantasy sim world and doing these streams is, I think it's really healthy at a time like this. You know, to have a sort of an outlet and pretend you're somewhere else for a while. So we're just approaching Frankfurt, which would be nice if we could have a look at it, but I suspect it might all be covered in cloud looking at the weather ahead. Yeah, exactly. Don't think anyone's coming out of this totally unscathed. I mean, I'm fortunate. In many ways, I've still got work, and I'm still having contact with friends and family online, and meeting people in parks. So there's plenty worse than I. But yeah, it's a weird existence at the moment, isn't it? Nice. I like a good lamb madras. I've recently discovered a new Indian takeaway near me that does what they call murg masala. Murg being chicken, I think, but it's not like a chicken tikka masala. It's got a bit of heat to it, and it's got minced meat, and it's got a bit of lemon in it, and that's the only thing I order these days. It's blooming brilliant. I might have that tonight. No, I won't. I've got to cook tonight. I'm having too much takeaway lately. Got chicken breasts in the fridge that need to be turned into something. Yeah, it is. It's the best Indian dish I've had. So where are you all looking forward to going in the real world the most once this pandemic's over? Or before, when you can't take it anymore? Wow, nice. I've been to Malta. I enjoyed it a lot. Haven't been to Australia. But yeah, I'd like to go. Oh, nice. Yeah, that would be lovely. Be a nice treat once it's all over. Which part of Spain's here? Oh, interesting. That's an unusual destination. I've been into Romania briefly. I went to Arad as part of an Interrail trip when I was 18, and I enjoyed it. But yeah, Transylvania does appeal as well. Kevin, hello. Thank you for following on Twitch as well. Nice to see you. Oh yeah, Torrevieja. Where is that? Let's look on a map. Oh right, near Murcia, yeah. Nice. And near Alicante. Alicante was another potential for today's flight. I decided it might be time to try and break through my hatred of default airports and fly to one. Yeah, I just want to go anywhere really. I'd love to go back to Japan. That was one of the best trips I've been on in recent years. But yeah, more or less anywhere that isn't the UK. I try to, Pablo, yeah, I do. I would, of course, make an exception for Moss's grandpa, though. I really like Spain. Particularly fond of Valencia, but I've had some very good times in Barcelona as well, and in Seville. Just looking at a map of Spain and reminiscing there. Oh, that's a shame. I was fortunate not to have anything booked. But yeah, it must have been painful having to cancel when you've been looking forward to it. Yes, I like flamenco music as well, and I love the food. I love the whole tapas thing. Little dishes of multiple things. That's the way to eat. They know how to live in Spain in general, I think. Music, work-life balance, food, weather, obviously. Yeah, it's true, Mossy. As I said, I'm confident that we will have a vaccine. I don't know how effective it will be, but even if it's 60%, 70% effective, then I think that'll be enough for me. Basically, I want to be fairly confident that I'm not going to end up in a coma, and then I'll be happy to go back to a more varied life. I am someone who tends to avoid the tourist areas. I went to Lisbon. That was one of my most recent European trips, and I liked that a lot, but it was just heaving with tourists. And I know it's total hypocrisy to complain about that when you're one yourself, but it did feel like the city had been damaged by tourism, which was a shame. But it's spectacular. It's a beautiful place and worth going in spite of that. Yeah, I think there's something to be said for that MBAC mom as well. Yeah, other than going to work, I literally avoided everyone from March until about July, I think. I didn't see anyone in person. And from then on, including now, I'm seeing people in parks. I'm making the effort to just see people outside from 2 meters away and hope for the best. But that's about as far as I've pushed it. Yeah, that is one benefit. That is one benefit, money saving. Anyway, we ought to start thinking about our descent, really, because we are just over 100 nautical miles away from it. So I'm going to turn the music off momentarily so I can concentrate, because it's incredibly loud through my headset. And I'll look up the meta. Yeah, I think you're probably right, Pablo. But let's go back into Fantasyland. Let's talk about our descent and arrival into Vienna. The weather there is few clouds at 1,800 feet, scattered clouds at 2,400 feet, broken clouds at 4,200 feet. So pretty grim weather, but we should have okay visibility for the approach. Winds 320 at 12 knots. So I'm just going to bring up my charts. Yeah, so I imagine we'll be landing on runway 34. So we'll set up for that. And we'll go down to our MCDU, go to the flight plan page, and set up for our arrival. So our star was correct. Forgotten what it stands for, but it's correct. Bude 1 whiskey. Oh yes, here we go. Bude X1 whiskey. And we're going to be doing an ILS approach onto runway 34. So we'll get all those charts open. And we'll just reconfirm this arrival. Do we want to go via Ballard? Let me check. Budex, Gimbo, Ladag, Masseur. So we end up at Nerdu, and then I'm not too sure. Let me just check my flight plan. Hello Fayed, welcome to the stream. We're going to be landing on runway 34. Okay, so we're expecting a Neren transition. NER for November. Let me just get the transition map up as well, that would be handy. Right, Mabod and NER do 4N transitions. Okay, that makes sense. So we follow the star as far as Nerdu, and then from there we follow the Nerdu for November RNEV transition, which takes us on an extended downwind leg for runway 34. Excellent. So Nerdu it is. And let's see how that looks on our map. Hello Kai, welcome to the stream, nice to see you here. Better zoom in a little. So yeah, so we're just setting up for the arrival. About 10 minutes from our top of descent. About 40 minutes from landing, something like that. Yes, and that looks exactly as I would expect from the charts, which is always something of a relief in this sim, I must say. Okay, so over to the performance page. Click through to the approach page. And I'll get my METAR up again. So QNH is 1015 and the wind is 320 at 12. Temperature is 9. Transition altitude will be assigned by ATC, but I think it's going to be 7,000. It tends to be about, so transition level, which is what you call it on the descent, tends to be about 1,000 feet above transition altitude, which is what you call it as you're climbing out. So I'm just going to have a look at one of these departure routings. Oh no, it's 10,000 there, so let's put in 11,000 for now. And the MDA for the ILS approach to runway 35, just realised I never handed control to my co-pilot, which is what you're supposed to do. Got ahead of myself.
You have control.
There
I
we
have
are.
control.
He's sort of flying the plane now, except he isn't really. What is our MDA? 794, which is 208 feet above ground level. There we are. So now we're set up for the approach, and we'll just hope that that is what we're cleared for when we're descending.
I have control.
You have control.
29 is easier, is it? How come, Fayed? Hello Richard, welcome to the stream. We're just approaching our top of descent, so I've been setting up for the arrival. Oh, I see. Just in terms of the direction, yeah. But if I'm coming from the west, it would be easier to land straight in to runway 11, no? Anyway, the wind dictates that 3-4 is our best runway. I think, unless it's changed. Yeah, 320 at 12, so yeah, it would be runway 34. Do you know Vienna quite well, Fayad? Ah, right, okay, that would be a yes then. I've never been in real life. I'd like to visit Vienna. It looks beautiful from what I've seen of it. So I thought what I might do in terms of A320 flights next is to try and pick a base, and I'm thinking Vienna's as good a base as any, and just try and fly some real world routes that a particular aircraft has flown. So we could take this Lauda A320, look on Flight Radar 24 and just fly wherever it went. I don't know what you think about that, if that would interest you, or if you prefer seeing a bit more variety in origins and destinations. Because as you know, I don't like flying to default airports, but I've decided I need to get over it. I will go back to Japan as well at some point. We've got a few more. I found there's a whole new airport that has commercial routes on one of the islands to the east that has been included with the scenery. I didn't even know about it, so we'll definitely do a bit more Tokyo to various places, but perhaps we could do some Vienna to various places as well. Right, Vienna is also on the list of places I'm going to go once this is all over. It's a long old list. I'd like to do a long haul, Mossy, but the Dreamliner is so broken still. This plane is quite broken, but I at least know what I'm doing with it.
221 expect the Butte 1 Whiskey arrival with the Butex transition for the ILS approach to runway 34 with the NER4N transition at Schwechat after Abudo cleared direct Butex.
Expect the Butte 1 Whiskey arrival with the Butex transition for the ILS approach to runway 34 with the NER4N transition after Abudo cleared direct Butex Lauda motion 221.
After Abudo cleared direct Butex. Well, that is our flight plan, so that's a relief. Yeah, what was I saying? Dreamliner. Yeah, I'm going to have a play with it after the next patch and see how it flies. I used to fly in prepared, but not as much as the A320, and I sort of think if you know what you're doing with an aircraft, you can get around the bugs. If you don't, it's likely to bite you. So we'll see. We'll see. I tell you what, Mossy. 1,000 subscribers, I will definitely do a long haul, even if it goes horribly wrong. Before then, I might do a long haul if I can make the aircraft work properly. And 500 subscribers, of course, we're going to do a group flight, anyone who wants to join. And it'll probably, no, in fact I can say with certainty, it will be over Snowdonia in Wales. So it should be pretty spectacular scenery. Yeah, that sounds pretty good, Fayed. Let me have a quick look at that one. Thing is, there's no scenery for Bari. Oh, not good scenery anyway. But yeah, I tell you what, do Lauda fly there, Fayed? If they do, I'll do it. Yeah, it's the autopilot that's broken. Also, I think it does weird things on landing. It just doesn't like landing properly, even without the autopilot. It used to really stutter. I don't think it does that so much anymore. But I don't, yeah, my impression, and I haven't flown it since this was first released, my impression is that it's so broken that it's not that much fun to fly. But I'll have another look at it.
Motion 221 contact prop control on 118.37. Enjoy your morning.
Who was asking about the top of descent arrow? We've got one.
37 Lauda motion 221.
Blimey, that's a long flight in an A320.
Lauda motion 221 at flight level 370.
Lauda motion 221. Good morning. Radar contact.
I've just remembered.
Lauda motion 221 descend to cross Butex at flight level 250, then descend via the Butte 1 Whiskey arrival with the Butex transition to flight level 170 QNH is 1015 at Schwechat.
Will cross Butex at flight level 250, then descend via the Butte 1 Whiskey arrival with the Butex transition to flight level 170 QNH is 1015 Lauda motion 221.
Okay, so we are descending to flight level 250, which is trying to cross Butex at flight level 250, which is why I've updated the constraints in here. And in the real world, the A320 would choose a descent rate that gets us to Butex at flight level 250. This one just wants to point the nose down and go for it. So we'll work with it. That's not a problem. But I mean, really, you should be able to put in flight level 140 and it would follow the constraints. So let's try it. There are so many updates to this mod that every time I fly it, I feel I have to give it a test and see if it behaves better than it did. But we'll keep an eye on our altitude because we shouldn't drop below 250 until after Budex. I really want a 747-400. I used to love flying that between Heathrow and JFK. That was a beautiful plane that PMDG did. Mind you, it's not flying anymore, of course. Triple sevens are nice as well. Look forward to that being ported over. This is another weird anomaly. You'll notice that it leveled us off in order to slow to 240 knots. And it's fine to slow us to 240 knots, but ideally it wouldn't level us off to do it. It would just pick a descent rate that gradually reduced our speed down.
Louder Motion 221 contact Munich Center on 120.65. Have a nice day.
Center on 120.65 Lauda Motion 221.
This is incredibly bad timing, but I do need to nip to the toilet. Keep an eye on this for me, would you?
221 descending to flight level
Just wait and hear what these people say.
Louder Motion 221, good morning. Radar contact.
Good, back in a mo. Good, I see nothing too awful has happened. Right, what was I doing? I was going to look at our further altitude constraints. So 250 at Budex. And we should be above altitude 170 at Gimbo. It's got a minus instead of a plus. There's nothing we can do about that. Also, these minuses and pluses don't necessarily work as you'd expect them to on here. I think it knows what it's doing, even if it has the wrong symbol. Yeah. No, I got back in, Pablo. This is alright. Ladag, we should be at 6,000 feet or above, correct. Masseur, we should be between 6,000 and flight level 170. Can we change that? Now you see in the real plane you should be able to do this. I bet that doesn't work. No, it's just giving us a 6,000. Can we clear that? Okay, we may have to use selected altitude mode. Where are we? Ladag, Masseur. Temperature 6,000 or above, and then for some reason at Nerdu it thinks we want to be back at our cruising altitude, which is ridiculous, and it won't let us change that. Never mind. Moving on to the RNAV transition. WW987, we want to be at 6,000 or above. That's correct. That is absolutely right.
Louder Motion 221 contact prod control on 118.37. Enjoy your morning.
Center on 118.37 Lauda motion 221.
Well, other than the incorrect minus symbols, these are all spot on. So let's see how the aircraft
Center
handles
Lauda
it.
motion 221 descending to flight level 170.
Lauda motion 221. Good morning. Radar contact.
Hang on, I think we've busted our descent clearance, haven't we? We'll cross Budex at flight level 250. Yeah. Yeah, we're too low. I trusted the aircraft. I shouldn't have. Let's level off here for now. Yeah, an A350 or a 777X would be awesome. Any 777 would be good. There's someone working on an A350. I don't know what stage it's at. I think there are a lot of these projects that perhaps won't see the light of day in the end, but yeah, it would be awesome. So after Budex, we're cleared down to flight level 170. That's fine. We know what we're doing. Nobody panic. Where in the world are we? Oh, we're just coming up to Česká Budějovice, where Budweiser comes from. Apologies for the pronunciation. Oh no, we're not. I'm looking at the wrong aircraft. No, we are. There are two aircraft ahead of us. Qatar 274 and Ryanair 7800. Oh, which one do I prefer? I've flown both. I mean, the A350 is a better aircraft all round, but I have a soft spot for the 777 because it's the first long-haul aircraft I went on. With the old Lauda Air, actually, I was on my way to Thailand and I flew Austrian to Vienna and then Lauda Air from Vienna to Bangkok. Yeah, that was just a brilliant flight. It was smooth and quiet and the plane was really empty, so I got a whole row of seats to myself. So I think practically A350 is better, but 777 I have a soft spot for personally. Yeah, I know, Mbek Mom, I know. My guess is that Aerosoft will bring their A320 out sometime next year, and the FS Labs will bring their A320 across sometime. Well, sometime, could be years away though, given how long it took them to get it up and running in FSX. Which is your favourite, if I add? Okay, yeah, you won't be disappointed if you do fly on the A350. It's very quiet and smooth. I've only flown on one once. On the way, where was I going? Oh yeah, I was going to Montreal. See a friend out there. And it wasn't a great flight because I was crammed in with someone quite fidgety next to me in economy class. So it wasn't a fun flight. But it wasn't the aircraft's fault, it was British Airways' fault for cramming too many seats in. Do any of you know the history of Lauda Air before it was a low-cost carrier that was bought by Ryanair? Because it used, when I flew with them, they were a long-haul subsidiary of Austrian Airlines. And I don't know how they went from that to not existing to then reappearing as a low-cost carrier. It seems a bit odd. So after BDX down to flight level 170. I'll get that programmed in now and hope that it doesn't just start descending of its own free will before we get there. Oh, look at that. It's past the waypoint and it's descending just as it should. See, for all the frustrations with this aeroplane, MMOM, sometimes with the mod it just pleasantly surprises you. Let me just check our RadNav page, make sure the ILS is correctly tuned, and it isn't. This is often the way with add-on airports. 108.1. And the course should be 340, but I don't think you can change that. No. It's not caused me any problems in the past, whatever it says here. It tends to line you up properly. We'll turn our landing system on. And I think because we're expecting clouds during our descent, we'll turn on our anti-ice as well. This should be on auto, but sometimes the probe ice is off, ice is up, so I'm going to put it on to be on the safe side. It even seems to be descending at an appropriate rate to get us where we want to be at the right altitude.
Cabin crew, prepare for arrival.
Seatbelt sign on, passing 20,000 feet. And because are we descending? No, it's descending to a flight level, not an altitude, aren't we? So my next stream is going to be the next leg of Bimbles Around Britain, my VFR tour of the UK. We'll be starting in Bristol again, because that's where we left our Cessna parked up after the last leg, and flying into Wales, possibly to Haverfordwest in Pembrokeshire. I'd like to end up there, but I'll need to have a look at timings and things like that. And I'm hoping to do that stream tomorrow. I'm on call for work, so it's a sort of 80% chance of it happening, I would say. And it'll be at a similar time, 2 o'clock in the afternoon, something like that, if you're about. Good. I look forward to seeing you there, Mossy. And then hopefully once we're after that, I'll hit my 500 subscribers and we can do our multiplayer flight from Haverfordwest, or possibly another Welsh airport. I don't want to commit myself to that leg. Up over Mount Snowdon. I figured we'd use the voice chat on my Discord server when that happens, and use live players in the sim, and anyone who wants to join can. No, I don't, Mbek Mom. You're not the first person to say this. I found the odd one that's out, but most of my ILSs seem to be fine. But you've made me anxious about this now, about this landing. Do you use the Navigraph beta, or do you just use the default nav data? Because I did have some problems with the ILSs at... Which airport was I reviewing? Miami, yeah. The default nav data had the ILS absolutely fine. The Navigraph data tried to make me land about half a mile to the left of it. So this is the limit of our descent clearance so far. Let's hope they give us lower soon. Oh, right. Yeah, I think there are plenty of faults in both of them. I just haven't personally found enough of them to test it all out before starting. This is rather pretty, isn't it? So we've just crossed from the Czech Republic, or Czechia, into Austria, and we are in between Harmenstein and Großotten. Großotten being somewhere over here, I think. Looks like a pretty small place on Google Maps, to be fair. So at Masur we should be between 6,000 and flight level 170, which we are of course, but I'd feel more comfortable if we were a bit lower. Yes, there is a patch tomorrow, Bimon. Yeah, there is. Yeah, I'd forgotten about that. That could mess up my stream, couldn't it? Well, I'll schedule it and we'll hope for the best. They don't usually come out till the evening time in the UK anyway, so we should be alright. I just hope it doesn't break too much this time. So we're about 26 minutes away from landing now, according to Pilot to ATC. What's our little bar at the top showing? I can't see it except when I click on it. 1531. I think that's a little optimistic. Now if we were using the default ATC and we were still at 17,000 feet on that, I would be tempted to start ignoring them and just descend further. But I'm going to trust Pilot to ATC to know what it's doing. Yes, it looks like it does actually. I've just had a check of the flight plan on there and it looks like we will be getting further clearance beyond Whiskey 987. Which is here. So that's fine. Like you, Mbekmo, I'm so used to things not working that even when they look like they are working, I don't quite trust them. Even with third-party add-ons. Yeah, I've had that. I think I had a momentary disconnection from the stream. Are you all still there? Someone say something.
Lauda motion 221 QNH is 1015 cleared for the ILS approach to runway 34 with Vienna 4 and transition at Schwechat. Contact radar director on 119.8. Good morning.
QNH is 1015 cleared for the ILS approach to runway 34 with Vienna 4 and transition radar director on 119.8. Lauda motion 221.
I'm just thank you, Lee. It's very nice of you to say. I'm just a simmer. I've got some real-world experience. I've done a few flying lessons, but no.
Lauda motion 221. Good morning. Radar contact.
So for approaches with transitions like this, when they say you're cleared for the approach, I'm never certain if you're cleared to descend via the approach routing, or whether you have to wait for further descent clearance from them. Does anyone know? I mean, we're still okay for now, so I guess we'll remain at flight level 170 and see if they give us further descent clearance. This is the sort of situation that I hate when I'm on VATSIM. I think Pilot to ATC is just a lot more in depth than any ATC add-ons I've used before, because I'm used to always getting a descent clearance and just following them down. Thank you, Richard. It's nice to hear. I've been flight simming for quite a long time, mostly in the A320, so I sort of know what I'm doing. There are a few gaps in my knowledge, but yeah, I'm glad you're enjoying it. Okay, that's interesting. Pilots may descend in the TAA sector to the minimum altitude depicted within the defined area or subdivision. Well, I tell you what, let's try it. Let's start a descent to 6,000 feet. I don't know if it'll let us in manage mode, but we'll try it. And if we get pulled up on it, then we'll know for next time.
Lauda motion 221 descent via the NEO and transition to flight level 170.
Descent to flight level 170
I guess that's a
via
no.
the NEO transition. Lauda motion 221.
Let's go back to 170. Yeah, but the constraints for where we are now are 6,000 or above. So I think being cleared for the approach doesn't give you descent clearance, it just gives you lateral clearance to follow your approach plate, and they will tell you when you can descend. It's probably different in America to in the Europe as well. It's probably one of those things. Right, I feel things are about to start getting a little bit intense, so I'll turn the music off. Focus. Talking of focus, just as a bit of an aside, if any of you have not joined my Discord server, it would be great to see you there, especially if you want to get involved in this group flight that's coming up to celebrate 500 subscribers. If I'm not getting too ahead of myself. I would like to think that might happen sometime soon. So yeah, it'd be great to see you there. There's a link in the description. I don't really understand why it's chosen 240 knots as well so far from our destination. That doesn't seem quite right to me. But we're too close to bother intervening now. Do you know what? I'm going to ask for a descent to 6,000, I think. Vienna radar director, Lauda motion 221, request descent to 6,000 feet. Lauda motion 221, request descent to 6,000 feet. No, they don't want to answer that. In fact, it seems to have frozen. So I'm going to start our descent and hope that it wakes up again.
Lauda motion 221 descend and maintain 7,000 feet.
Okay, it woke up.
Descend and maintain 7,000 feet. Lauda motion 221.
So because we are being cleared to an altitude rather than a flight level, we can set the local pressure now. And get the co-pilot to do the same.
1016 set.
1016 set. Passing 15,600. Now.
Check.
Dave, the developer of Pilot to ATC, was very helpful when I sent him the clip where ATC went mad on our last flight. And he's been trying to recreate it, but he thinks it's just a strange glitch that happens. So we'll hope that it was a one-off. Let's do our approach checklist now.
Approach checklist.
Briefing.
Confirmed.
ECAM status.
Checked.
Baro ref.
1014 set.
1014 set. Minimum. Engine mode selector.
Normal.
Approach checklist complete.
Lauda motion 221 descend via the NAV4 and transition to 7,000 feet.
Descend to 7,000 feet via the NAV4N transition. Lauda motion 221.
Don't like the look of some of these clouds, I must say. Nothing too scary on the weather radar though. So this approach transition, which is going to take us, so essentially on a downwind leg now, we turn right to base leg, and then our final here is over, it looks like it's probably almost 30 miles long, so we'll hold off on extending flaps, I think, until we're a bit closer. Whereas normally I'd extend flaps 1 before intercepting the final. Because it's so long, we'll hold off a bit.
We'll be arriving at our destination.
Let's turn our landing lights on, below 10,000 feet.
Please see the customer service agent leading the flight. All the video monitors inside the terminal will display information. For your continued safety,
It's a little bit bright now, isn't it?
We'll collect any off-service items, newspapers and any other items that you wish to discard or take off the aircraft. Also, in preparation for landing, please turn off all electronic devices. Load these devices in the room of the carrier.
So we need to be at 6,000 feet or above until we've come round the corner and reached our first waypoint, at which point we need to be 4,000 or above. No, I certainly wasn't MB1, sorry, I've just seen your message. Yeah, I hope so too, Mossy. That did seem to be, seemed to be a really big problem, both landings in Tokyo Haneda, and we had it once at Heathrow. I've tweaked my streaming software a little bit and removed some clutter. So yeah, hopefully it'll be better. Keep your fingers crossed. Ah, it's FAA, is it? There we go. Oh, I see. I don't know how any of this works. I didn't know I had a bot in this channel, to be honest. Must be a YouTube thing, I guess. So yeah, I'm also going to close. I keep an eye on the YouTube page, so I'm going to close that. Get rid of anything that is surplus to requirements, like my Bristol weather, my flight plan, my flight radar 24 screen, and hopefully that will keep the stream nice and smooth. Close Discord, close my SimBrief downloader, close 7-zip, close little nav map. Okay, I think I've done everything I can to keep it smooth. I wonder if we can see the airport. Should be just behind us and to the right. No, too misty. Okay, thanks a lot. Cheers. But again, if it's FAA, that's American, so it may be totally different in Europe. This is new, isn't it? I don't think it's ever said Cat 3 up here before. Must be something else they've done in the master build for the mod. So we did have our ILS tuned in, but we're too far away now. As I said, it's a very long final. I imagine this is the sort of approach where in the real world they'll give you a shortcut if they can. Okay, and it's you can tell by our sudden decrease in speed that it's decided to enter approach mode. Which I think is a little bit early, but we'll go with it. Should make these turns slightly smoother if nothing else.
Lauda motion 221 contact radar director on 119.8.
Contact radar director on 119.8 Lauda.
Lauda motion 221 radar contact.
Okay, what happened there was I decided to switch to COM 2 because I was going to try and pick up the ATIS. I was, because I'm using AI control, I was told to contact the people we're already in touch with, namely Vienna radar director. But anyway, we won't bother with the ATIS. In the real world, we'd probably get it down here on our messages. So what I will do is just check it hasn't changed in the check that the METAR hasn't changed. 320 11 knots. Wind's dropped a tiny bit, but other than that it's all much the same. Still 9 degrees. And I'm pressing the B key to make sure we're using the local pressure in the sim. Lauda motion 221, request descent to 4,000 feet.
Lauda motion 221 descend and maintain 5,000 feet.
Descent and maintain 5,000 feet Lauda motion 221.
One day I'll do a flight and just leave pilot to ATC alone. I'm sure it's perfectly capable of getting us down. I'm just a bit jittery. So I'll keep asking for descent clearance at the moment. We can even see our runway lights. I believe in the real world ILS systems have a bigger range than they do in this sim.
Lauda motion 221 descend via the NAV4 and transition to 5,000 feet.
Descent to 5,000 feet via the NAV4N transition. Lauda motion 221.
That's fine. Our next constraint is 4,000 feet or above, and the one following that is 3,000 feet or above. And I think we'll ask for flaps 1 at this point.
Flaps 1.
Speed checked. Flaps 1.
Just going to double check the RadNav page. 108.1, which we were tuned to before. There's someone at the door, bear with me. Sorry about that, very important cat food delivery, couldn't afford to miss it. No, I don't, Barry. I use the FS2 crew pushback add-on. Right, so we've picked up the ILS again. We'll turn on LOC. Make sure we are lined up with that. And we'll wait for further descent clearance. Yes, yeah, they will. this sort of thing that's going to stop me being a YouTube millionaire by Christmas days. It's very unprofessional.
Lauda motion 221 QNH is 1015 at Schwechat contact tower on 119.4. Have a nice day.
QNH is 1015 tower on 119.4 Lauda motion 221. Tower Lauda motion 221 inbound for ILS approach runway 34.
Lauda motion 221 good morning. Radar contact. Continue ILS to runway 34 call when established on final.
Continue ILS to runway 34 will call when established on final Lauda motion 221.
I know, it has occurred to me, everyone, that I could probably spend 2 minutes a day filming my cat and do a lot better on YouTube than I do with this stuff. Aha, we have glide slope, so let's engage approach mode. Flaps 2.
Speed checked. Flaps 2.
Gear down.
Gear down.
Gosh, it's really enjoying the steep descent at the moment, isn't it? 2,700 feet a minute. Totally uncalled for, but never mind. A little bit blowy. Yeah, this aircraft does wobble a lot. It feels a lot more unstable than previous sims I've flown. Especially as wind is more or less bang on the nose. But I suppose it's fairly strong. I'm expecting 9 knots from, what did I say, 300? Something like that. 320. No, 11 knots from 320 on the ground, so hopefully it'll die back as we descend. So yes, flaps 2 and gear down before capturing the glide slope. Cornelius, thanks very much for the sub, appreciate it. So the runway elevation here is 586 feet.
Flaps 3.
Speed checked. Flaps 3.
Flaps full.
Speed checked.
Flaps full.
Cabin crew, be seated for landing.
And we have to tell them again in the actual aircraft. And we'll do our landing checklist.
Landing checklist.
Cabin crew.
Advised.
Auto thrust.
Speed.
Auto brake.
Low.
ECAM memo.
Actually, it's not, is it? I haven't done that.
Landing no blue.
Landing checklist complete.
Always set your auto brake as part of your descent preparation, folks. It's very important. struggling a little bit with the old localizer, isn't it? Is it going to sort itself out? No. Let's just turn the autopilot off.
Checked.
I mean, in an ideal world, the autopilot would make your life easier, not harder, but we don't live in an ideal world.
Lauda motion 221, winds are 312 at 11 knots, cleared to land runway 34.
Clear to land runway 34, Lauda motion 221.
LS doesn't, the glide slope doesn't quite match up with the PAPIs here, you'll notice.
Continue.
300. 200. 100. 60, 50, 40, 30, 20.
And it's rolling to the right.
5.
Spoilers. No reverse, engine 1 and 2. Decel.
Well, here we are. Welcome to Vienna Schweihat. The aircraft did try to kill me a little
knots.
bit on touchdown, but never mind.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is the conclusion of our flight. Please remain seated with your seatbelts fastened until the captain has turned off the seatbelt sign and the aircraft is parked safely. This would be your indication that it is safe to move around the cabin, gather your belongings.
Right, so after landing, we turn our landing
We'd
lights
like
off.
to thank you for flying with us today. We appreciate your business and we hope to see you once again on a future flight. Thank you.
Turn our strobe off. Our nose light is set to taxi. Start the APU. And we will contact our contact ground for taxi clearance, but it hasn't auto-tuned it for some reason. Let's try asking tower. Lauda motion 221, request taxi to gate.
Lauda motion 221, contact Wien ground on 121.6 for taxi clearance.
Ground on 121.6 for taxi clearance. Lauda motion 221.
Oops, wrong button. Ground, Lauda motion 221, request taxi to gate. Maybe it's because I stumbled over my words. Ground, Lauda motion 221, request taxi to gate. Thanks, Mussy. And yeah, 20. Yeah, you're right, Mbekmon. 20 knot wind, not too bad. Why won't you talk to me, ground? I'm definitely tuned in. Lauda motion 221, request taxi to gate. Never mind. We will find our own way. I know which gate I want to park at. Was it stuttery, by the way, that landing, or was it okay? Seemed okay in the sim, but that doesn't mean anything as we've learned from the last couple.
After landing checklist.
Flaps.
Retracted.
Spoilers.
Disarmed.
APU.
Start.
Radar.
Off.
Predictive wind shear system.
Off.
After landing checklist complete.
Oh good, I'm pleased. I'm pleased. Either I've solved it, or that Haneda scenery is just a bit frame rate heavy. Good. So obviously because this flight hasn't flown in the real world, I don't have an actual gate from a real flight, but LOWW seem to park all over the place, and I'm going to the, what do they call it here? Sort of pier. Yeah, Pier East. Pier East gate D26, that's my plan. Bit of AI traffic there, not wearing one of the liveries I spent so long downloading from ICAO, but never mind. IVAO even. Yeah, I'm having a few stutters in the sim now. Normally performs really well, this airport. I don't know quite what's going on. There's an aircraft at D28. Pick one of the others. So although that AI plane that went past me wasn't wearing a corrective livery, you can see that we have a range of aircraft, including this Emirates 777, I think, and they are all wearing liveries from all over the world, so definite improvement, and I look forward to seeing what they do with the FLAI aircraft.
Taxi light off.
Lovely scenery, isn't it? Very realistic. Right, so we've parked, parking brakes on, APU bleed on, engine anti-ice off. Engines off. Beacon off. Seatbelt sign off. Fuel pumps off. And we will run the parking checklist.
Parking checklist.
APU bleed.
On.
Engines.
Off.
Seat belts.
Off.
Exterior lights.
Set.
Fuel pumps.
Off.
Parking brake and chocks.
On and in.
Parking checklist complete.
Oh, that's a bit of a shame, isn't it? The jetway didn't get anywhere near our aircraft. Even though my parking, I think you'll agree, was pretty impressive. Never mind, they've been working with the Sobo on the Japan airports. I'm sure they'll update this, and I'm sure they've been let into the secret of how to program jetways now. Right, what else was I going to do? Right, I was going to turn external power on because we don't need the APU running particularly. Now we're parked up. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is us done. So welcome to Vienna. I hope you enjoyed the flight. I did. And yeah, next flight probably tomorrow. And it will be a VFR flight in the Cessna, having a look at some nice Welsh scenery / Bristolian scenery. Thanks ever so much for coming. Hope to see you tomorrow, or if not then soon on another Philbert Flies flight. And enjoy the rest of your days. Take care. Bye-bye.